get on a plane, so yeah, right? Yeah. What is that? What is that thing?
Oh.
Is that what that's for? Like, or is it to like read minds or something? No, read minds. Okay, not control people. Okay.
I am the gatekeeper. Are you the key master?
Oh, is that? Oh, all right. Nice. Yeah. So usually we have our guitars, but we didn't bring them this time.
Boo.
Ignore the contact.
I know. It would. We're gonna bring them next year if they invite us back, which they might not this time. Forget it. 12 years is enough.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
So we'll start off with some Q&A, and then I don't know. I would tell random stories or something. You got to have some embarrassing stories.
A lot.
You do, right? Yeah. If you don't know, I'm Johnny. You don't know who I am. I'm Johnny. I was a Power Ranger, and I do voiceover. And we have a band. Our band was I Shine. We changed our name to Where Giants Fall. And this is Polo. We've been here 12 years. And we love coming here. It's fun to be here.
Yeah.
We usually go to Dollywood every single year, but this year it was cold, or at least the day that we wanted to go, it was cold, too cold. Yeah, and we shot a dumb video, the poopy bathroom one, and then the other one which we showed yesterday, and they're going to show the latest video at closing ceremonies while we're flying away, so that we don't have to be embarrassed again. But if you guys have questions, you could try shouting them, but it might be better if you went to that mic and then try to answer your questions. If you had, does anybody have any questions? Did you guys just come in here to have a place to sit?
You caught us.
That's what it is,
Maybe.
right? That's it. I knew it.
We didn't get to see the Owl Girl thing yesterday.
You didn't bring
Does the
laptop?
HDMI work? It would? Alright, well maybe let's try it then. I'll show you, see if we can show you Owl Girl. Okay. Alright. You don't have to rush, but if you have to get this HDMI still here. Unplanned.
Woohoo.
I might have enough juice for this though.
The water bottle.
How many people came to my DJ stand last night?
You are awesome!
Oh yeah, thank you.
Where were the rest of you?
Sleeping.
Outside protecting my hearing. Trying to get through traffic to my hotel.
Valid.
Anything over there? It was tricky yesterday because we were dealing with this whole thing. That's just going. Not sure if it worked.
You're right.
Might not work.
So I have a story. I went to London, maybe 17 years ago. 17 years ago, and I got a Thames River cruise. Yeah, with my friend, and then waiter came to me, and then there's like a course menu. We have to pick appetizer, main dish, whatever. And then I had zero English at the time.
Oh, wow.
Really hard, yeah. And then, yeah, they have British accent. Japanese like English, kind of close to British accent. But anyway, yeah, he came to me and took my order. And then there's another Asian couple, like, you know, different table. And he kind of tried to ask them whatever, you know. Then he came to me again, and he's like, hey, you guys are... can you speak Chinese? You know, he asked me. I was like, no, I'm Japanese. But he's like, you see the couple over there? They don't speak English. It's like, I have to take their order. Could you help? I was like, but I'm not Chinese. So I say like maybe ni hao, shaky, whatever. But I never speak Chinese before. He was almost crying, you know. I'm like, oh no, like could you? Okay. So I was like, okay, I help. And then I went to the Asian couples table, and then I was like, excuse me. The guy said, hi. Oh, he's Japanese. So they were not Chinese, he's Japanese, and then I helped them.
That worked out. Good.
Thank you. That's funny.
It's not gonna work.
It's not work?
Yeah. I don't know why. It's so weird. It could be this latest update, for all I know.
Did you update?
This one?
Oh.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. It could be.
It happens.
Alright, well, I can't show it. But if you go to voxrocketstudio.com, it is up there. As well as Baku, which we didn't show as well. So, yeah, they'll be up there.
So we shot Baku in
Montana.
Montana. How high was it? Like I couldn't breathe.
Oh wow.
That location was like really like.
Well, it was higher, but then we had to go up because there's like a grave, you know, that originally they weren't going to let us shoot at because it's an actual grave. But then we went up, even they liked us after a while, after letting us shoot a little bit. They're like, hey, you guys are okay. And then they let us go shoot. And so, but yeah, we had to hike up, it was like the side of a mountain almost. It was, it was very hilly to get all the way up to this, the grave that was up there. Yeah. So that's actually when you watch that, you'll see it's a real grave site from back in the day. And real ghosts. Oh, that's what I could have showed you. I could have showed you that I was shooting that film that I showed a little bit of with Stephen Lang. That first hotel they put me in, the drawer would open up. And then I was like, what is going on here? And then I would shut it, and I'd sit on the bed, and then be doing something else. And then I looked over and it was open again. I was like, dude, what's going on here? And then I closed it. And then the nightstand opened at the same time. And I was like, all right, this is weird. And then I filmed it. I was like, all right. And I sat there and I waited and had my camera on it, and it opened up. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I can't show it. It's creepy though. He always send me creepy videos like, what's going on? Hey, do you guys want to see what Polo called me? Oh, I can show you. This is, you guys might have to come up to see this. This is what it looks like when Polo call me. This is what you guys need to do to your friends, all right? Yeah, but he hasn't called yet. It's okay. Once he calls me. All right, is he calling? Hey, that's what. That's what I look like, and that's.
That's amazing.
I'm not gonna answer it.
I'm not gonna answer.
I don't want to talk to him. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I know you guys are busy with the 15 million things you like to do, but do you ever play video games like when you have time?
Yeah. Well, my kids play video games, and so every once in a while I'll hop in and play some games with my kids.
I play all the time.
Recently, like me and my son, we started playing Call of Duty. And yes, that's been kind of cool. I'm trying to think of what else. There's some other, and just some other like just random stuff, like some golf game, like miniature golf or something. And he beats me constantly. Like he's so good. I'm just really bad.
Kids are so good.
Yeah, and there's this other game, I can't remember, but it's like these little, cute little food items, and it's like a boomerang thing, and you basically try to like kill each other.
Sounds amazing.
It's on Switch. It's a pretty fun game. I have to find out what it is. It's fun. Yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, I was wondering if from a audio technical standpoint, if it's much different trying to dial in your voice as a voice actor than it is doing music. Is it just pretty much the same as scooping out the mids, trying to make a pocket, or is there more to it?
Oh, it's different. Music is definitely different. Well, I guess they're both, I mean, they're similar, but they're different, because your voice is the same. There's certain frequencies that are more important, right? But you do have to scoop things. When it comes to music, you do have to scoop things. The vocals are usually the most important thing that you want kind of cutting through. And so, depends on how thick your music bed is, that you have to mess with it and how much reverb. And I guess they're different but similar, because in a film, you have to be able to hear when somebody's saying something, otherwise you're going to miss it, So those things do need to pop out, but they shouldn't sound like when you're watching a film, you can tell if they didn't do a good enough job when it's like ADR. You can tell, oh, that's voiceover. They recorded that in a booth because they didn't add enough plate reverb or whatever. The frequencies weren't exactly the same. That's a little trickier too, because even like the big budget studios that spend $200 million, sometimes you can still hear like, why does that sound weird? I think the studios are getting better though, because a lot of times now, even when we go in to do some dub stuff, for a live action dub, they'll put a lapel mic on us, and they'll also use like a boom mic to record us. Yeah, but anime is different, video games are different, they want the highest quality, so they'll use like a $3,000 microphone or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And following that train of thought, would you have any advice, technically speaking, for people trying to get into voice acting and music on the sound production side?
Wait, someone who wants to get into voiceover, but...
Or music, or both. If you have any advice for somebody starting out to take a minimalistic approach.
Minimalistic approach? Get yourself an acoustic guitar and an iPhone or something, and just start recording yourself. I started that's how I had a guitar, and then I had a 4-track recorder. It was like a cassette, and so you could record like 4 tracks on one side, and then that's how I taught myself to play. And then playing it back. That's how I also taught myself to sing, because I was like, whoa, that doesn't. I'll tell you a story. I had a guitar. I've told this story before, but I had a guitar, and I had I bought it like when I was on Power Rangers, so whenever, like 94, 95, and then it was just sitting in my closet, and I never really played it. I intended to, but it never had the time. And then once I had no job, it's like, well, I better learn how to play this thing or something. And so I started playing it, and then I was learning how to play the guitar, and then I started to make up songs, and I was singing songs, and I lived in California with my parents and my sisters and my brother. Well, my brother was in Kansas, but they lived in Texas. And so they came to visit me one time, my sister and my dad, my youngest sister and my dad. They came out to visit, and I was like, yeah, I'm writing songs. They're like, yeah, what are you doing? I'm writing songs now. And they're like, really? Oh, can we hear one? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like excited because I just wrote my first song. And it'd be so cheesy for me to play it right now. But I was playing this song, and I'm singing it to them, and they're like excited at first, and then they're like, I could see the smile fade from their face, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, it's a work in progress. And then I was like, man, it must be terrible. And so I bought that 4-track recorder and I started to record it, that same song. And then I heard it and I was like, oh man, I'm tone deaf. You know, I was like, holy cow. You know, like I could see like where I was like kind of right, and then when I was wrong, and I was like, dude. And so that 4-track recorder, I basically would play it, and then, all right, that's where I'm singing wrong, and what is it? And then I would hit that note a few times until I found it, and I would record that, and I'd listen back, and I'm like, oh, okay, that fixed it. And then that's basically how I found to connect what was coming out of here with what I was hearing. That certainly helped me, you know, and that also helps me when it comes to, you know, voiceover or acting as well, because sometimes your intention is to sound whatever, a certain emotion, right? But it doesn't always come out the same way that you were hearing it. So recording yourself over and over again, playing different emotions or scenes or whatever, then you start to dial in that craft, and then you can feel the subtleties and you can hear them more when they're coming out. So then you can adjust yourself whichever way, you know. But, and I've been doing it for a very long time. So if you're interested in doing anything, like, I would say start now and just do the most basic thing, just start recording yourself.
All right, thank you.
Long story to get to that, but that, you know, basically, yeah, just start somewhere. Anything that you want to do, it's sometimes really hard to, you know, kind of, because it's like you see this vision of like, I want to do this thing. How do I get there? And there's like so many different things that you maybe heard or YouTube videos. Do this, you know. Just start somewhere, you know, because your goal is to do this thing, whatever it is. But a lot of times you can't just go and do that thing. It takes years. And so starting somewhere with something small, eventually the more you do it, the better you become at it, you know. And that goes with anything, you know, whatever that is, you know. I mean, with me, voiceover and music and even doing films and stuff like that. Like those ridiculous videos that we shoot here, we spend like 2 hours to do them. But they're okay. But it's because we've been doing them for a but I've been, you saw the squirrel fist versus butt fist thing. Well, somebody did.
Yes.
Everybody saw that video. We showed that at screening yesterday. Unintentionally, that was not planned, but somebody had read it when I pulled up the laptop. But you know, that was like, we started out there, and now we're making, you know, we're doing films and stuff. So you got to start somewhere, and then eventually you'll get to that place that you want to be, as long as you just stick with it. You know, and it will suck at first too. You know, you won't get it right all the time. You know, I sucked for sure at everything I did. And it just takes time, you know. And sometimes it does take people to point out, oh man, you're terrible. Because then you're like, nah, you know, and they're like, well, why am I terrible? And then let me figure that out. You know, hopefully it's constructive. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for that advice. That's awesome advice there. 2 questions. One's from an anonymous person, but my daughter wants to know, who would win in a Denny's parking lot fight of any of your characters you've ever done, voice acting or character-wise? Who would win in the Denny's parking lot
Any
fight?
of my characters? Oh my goodness. It'd be easier if someone picked those characters. You're just saying like all of them in a battle?
Battle Royale.
That
In
would,
a Denny's parking lot fight.
and it's Denny's parking lot. Okay. Which is common, right? Denny's parking lot fight.
Anything can happen.
No, I think I've been in almost one fight inside of Denny's, but not in a parking lot. Trying to think. Well, I do feel like Broly would probably be, you know, it's like Ichigo, Broly, Nero, maybe. Those guys are kind of, you know, once they lock into their powers, they're kind of OP, you know.
That's
so.
a couple pancakes in them, they're good to go.
Yeah. Well, I guess it depends on how many pancakes are in them. Slow them down.
That's it. The second one is, I know you said yesterday at your screening for like suggestions. I know a very low budget one cost you a few quarters, but a great autobiographical video of your quarter story would be awesome for the next show.
Yeah. See, I've thought about that. I have thought about that, and then I started to you know, storyboard that. And then for some reason, and you brought this up, one of you guys brought this up about that same thing, and I'm like, I don't know if it will play the same. You know, like it's one of those things that I feel, I don't know, I might as well just try it and then just and watch it. But I remember when I was storyboarding it, I was like, I don't know if it's funny. You know, it's funny if I tell it because you're hearing me tell this true story that happened. But then if you see it as like, I don't know, a video, you'd just be like, I'm not buying it or something. You know, that's the way I felt when I was looking at the storyboards. I was like, I don't know, it just seems too far-fetched. Like it doesn't seem like something that would happen. But if I'm telling you, you know, it's different. You know, I don't know why, but that's the way it felt when I was storyboarding. You know, I might as well try and see, but I'm not sure.
You include shots of you looking for quarters in the vending machines from this year's video.
Yes.
You created an original character.
Right, exactly. It's the same guy.
Same guy.
So my question's kind of like two roll up in one kind of, but when you were initially getting into acting, just in general, you know, how did you have like a good like support system, you know, moving away and stuff, and also like how did you just kind of keep your head held high if you know, get a bunch of like no's and rejections whenever you're first starting out?
Yeah, those are great questions. I didn't really have a good support system. Well, it wasn't a bad support system, but it was like when I wanted to do action on film, so I was like, man, I want to do action movies or something, you know. And as a martial artist, I was training all the time, and so there was basically, my instructor had seen an article in the paper. He knew that this was something I wanted to do. You know, I was doing the same sort of things. I was shooting these silly videos with my friends. So shooting videos with my friends, you know, whatever camera we had at the time, it had like an edit search, so I was editing all as I was shooting it. So that was already teaching myself. Like when I shoot now, it's all in my head, you know, a lot of times. And so it's like I already know what I want to see. But it started there with this edit search feature because I had to pre-edit everything as I was recording. It doesn't make sense, but it was like, basically I knew what I wanted to see. But I didn't have So anyway, my instructor had said, there's this audition for Power Rangers, I think you should go for it, whatever. And I remember being really nervous about it because I still am more of an introvert, shy person. And so that seemed very scary to me to go and then, because you had to like show off some martial arts and do some, you know, read some lines, you know. And I remember that feeling very scary because I hadn't done any kind of acting. I did martial arts stuff, but even then it's like you're gonna have people there judging you. And so that was scary. So I was talking to a few of my friends from soccer. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna go to this audition. You guys wanna go? You know, and trying to get people to come with me. And a lot of them were like, nah. They weren't really passionate about that sort of thing anyways. They did like shooting these little videos. And then a few of them were like, hey, look, man, you're just wasting your time. You know, guys like us, we don't get to do these things. You have to live in Hollywood, and you know. And so I didn't have but there was one guy who's like, I'll go with you. And thankfully he did, because I don't know, I might have chickened out if he hadn't, you know, decided to come with me. But that was enough to kind of give me the confidence. Well, I'm not the only one trying this out, you know. So I have a story. And then I do remember, my parents were never like against it or anything, but my mom didn't care either way, but my dad would always say, well, that's fine, but make sure you have something else, you know, to fall back on. And don't waste too much time with that. You know, do it, that's fine, but make sure, whatever, your educational and whatnot. Anyway, so there was somewhat of a support system, but I did feel more of like my friends saying, dude, stop wasting your time with this stuff. You know, you're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be doing action movies.
And here you are in front of a panel, bro.
I know, kind of weird, right? Even voiceover, like I can't even, like I never thought I had like a voice for anything like that, you know. So the support system, I guess, was maybe not really there, but I did have, it wasn't like super negative, you know. And even my friends that were like, don't do it, you're not going to make it, those it wasn't like they were doing the same thing my dad was doing. You know, it's like, hey man, make sure you have something else. You know, was essentially what they're saying, which I still think is good advice. You know, but I still think if it's something you want to do, you should go for it. You know, because you never know. You know, if I hadn't gone, then absolutely the answer is no, I wouldn't make it, right? And so there's just that small chance that, hey, if you show up, it could be yours. The second part of your question was?
When you're initially getting into it, you know, like actors are always like, just be prepared for like a lot of no's.
Right, there is a whole lot of no's, and those things are really hard, especially when you start out. Because you really hang on to every single audition that you go. It's like, you know, I auditioned for all sorts of stuff. They were trying to do like a Ramses, you know, like they had Xena, Warrior Princess, right? And they were trying to do like a Ramses thing. And I don't even know if they ever did, but I went to this audition for it. I remember I wanted it bad because it was like kind of like Power Rangers. I knew it was ending, for me at least. And I was like, man, if I can get this is going to get me through maybe until I can find something else. But I didn't get it. You know, and then that's the same way with a lot of voiceover and things like that. Like I was auditioning for things and not getting them. Fortunately enough for me, though, you know, it was the right place, the right time, and stumbled into it. But I think I don't know what, all I can do is say what I think you should feel, but it takes time to get there. And it's just, don't focus on it. Do your absolute best at whatever audition or whatever thing that you go do, but once you walk out those doors, forget about it. You know, until they call you up or contact your agent or say, hey man, we like what you did, then you can start, you know, changing your attitude about it. But I think just you go in there, it's your thing in that moment, you do your best, and just let it go at that. And then practice that a lot of just like, letting it go, because eventually you will grow thick skin enough to where it's like, all right, man, it would have been cool, but whatever, you know. That's kind of my attitude about a whole lot of things now, too. So
I think that's a great attitude.
it takes time, though. It takes time to develop that, for sure. It takes a lot of failure, you know, and you make mistakes, a lot of failure, but then, you know, a year later, months later, you're like, well, I'm fine. You know, I went through this hard thing, but I'm okay. You know, I'm gonna be fine. And that, if you can do that with everything, you know, because you're gonna face, we all do, face terrible things in our life. You know, worse than losing an audition or not getting a part. So just knowing that this sucks right now really bad, but eventually I'll be okay. Doesn't make whatever happens right or okay, but you will be okay if you just keep moving forward. One day at a time, and just look ahead, you know. And as long as you try your best to be good to other people too, I think you'll be all right.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
So you guys go to Dollywood every year.
We tried, this year we didn't,
yeah. What are each of your guys' favorite things?
I always forget the name of the wooden coaster.
Thunderhead?
Thunderhead, yeah, that one's like kind of insane. I always forget how intense it is. And then we go on it and it's like, and you feel like everything's breaking. Like every turn. And then it feels like, you know, the thing, like when you go in, it's not a shaft, but they have like the wood beams, and you're like, yeah, and then you're like, but yeah, it's like, it's a very violent ride, I feel like, you know, but at the end of it, you're like, I just survived that. Let's go do it again. There's that one, and then there's the big drop we would always do.
Eagle? Oh, yeah.
Eagle's cool because Eagle's smooth.
Free fall.
Yeah, the free fall one, I don't know the name of that, but that one's kind of a classic one to hit. The Eagle is cool too, unless it's like raining. We did that one year raining, and it was like having, you know, BBs hitting you in the face. Yeah.
Have you done the Eagle in the pitch dark? I just did it for the first time a little while ago, and it's a whole different experience. Like when it's completely dark, Wild Eagle, totally new experience.
I mean, we would always go at night.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know, it's scary out there. dark, you know, in the dark.
But that's a smooth ride, though.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's nice,
yeah.
I hate the ones where it's like they got the shoulder things and then you're hitting your head on either side.
Okay, obviously I'm gonna ask for Ayla. She just wants to touch on Tower of God a little bit.
Tower of God?
Yeah, because we finally started watching it.
The first season, or are you guys into the second
We're
season?
in the second.
Okay.
So kind of like the difference, I don't need any spoilers, but the difference in your character in the first season and the second season, and just
Yeah.
kind of touch on it.
Okay, well, yeah, Tower of God, the character Bomb, I voice him. And he's kind of, in the first season, he's very young and naive, and things happen. And then the second season takes place, I can't remember how many years later, but it takes place quite a bit later. He's older, and he also is under a different name. So voice-wise, I remember I was told, well, he's older now, and so the voice should be different. I think it's maybe sort of, we're gonna fool people, but then there's gonna be flashbacks, so you're gonna have to do original Bomb as well. And so, yeah, it's just kind of a balance, you know, I just trust my director where she wants me to go with the voice and just kind of riding this ride. It's a whole webcomic. I don't know if you've seen or looked through it. There's like, it's pretty long. It's crazy, actually. It goes pretty far ahead. I looked at it originally when I first got the part, because I needed to know sort of an idea of what's going on, who is he. But yeah, you can get lost in that. If you're interested in it and you can't wait for the anime, just check out the webcomic.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I know you touched on this with a previous question on like the people around you, like when you were getting into acting and voice acting, and like how your dad was like saying you need like a steady backup plan, and your mom didn't really care either way. And I was just gonna touch on that and ask like, how did you like know, like I guess instead of going into like, I guess.
What was my backup plan?
Yeah, your backup plan.
Yeah, that's a great question as well. My backup plan was, I guess I'm going to go to college and study film. Yeah. So like basically, I auditioned for Power Rangers, and then didn't hear anything. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm going to college to study film. And so, I mean, it was only like maybe a week or two after. And so I had already registered. And I remember I was in this dorm, and this, the guy that was in the dorm with me was complaining about something about his life. And then I was like, oh man, I can't see myself listening to this guy for how long, I couldn't picture it. And then I got a phone call. And it was my brother, and he basically was like, hey man, they want you to audition again, but in California. And so, so basically that was my backup plan, was like, I guess I'm gonna go do it this way instead, because I still wanted to do some, like that was my passion. It's like, I love doing films. I love shooting these videos that we did when I was younger, even to this day. But yeah, so backup plan was like, all right, well, how can I guess do this the other way, and still it was kind of like, it was still some way for me to go and do the thing that I enjoy doing. I mean, that's kind of an important thing, find, if there's a handful of things that you enjoy doing, try to, focus on those things. Because for me too, it's also like writing music, that's a lot of fun, and so for me, a lot of the things that I do are more on the creative side of things, writing music, writing scripts, stories and character, and developing a character and trying to decide where's this character gonna go or sound like. Those things are a lot of fun for me. So I guess you almost want to push, for me, it's pushing my creativity in different avenues, I guess. So if you're, a car guy, push your, whatever that would be, understanding, the mechanics or an engine, or simple things like, the paint or colors, whatever. You want to like see how, if that's the thing you love, find different ways to get to that, thing that you love. or enjoy. And then, but I would say that always kind of keep your eyes open, because I never thought music was going to be a thing for me. But once I kind of stumbled into it, and then it just kind of opened up, and I'm like, oh, now there's mixing and recording, like I've mixed and recorded to other people. And that becomes fun too, you know, is understanding frequencies and, you know, how to mix a song. And then that kind of sort of bleeds into films and stuff. Well, how do we, you know, make this sound? And then you have fun making up sounds for different things. So, yeah, you just kind of find, well, what are you passionate about?
Pretty much voice acting and film and video, and I like to write scripts a lot too as well.
Dude, do that. Just chase it, you know. And you do have to have a regular job. I did that many times as well, because you obviously have to pay for the things you're doing. So, I mean, I worked at Taco Bell and Subway for a very long time. Not a very long time. What are you doing, man? Oh, I see. You're going to be scrolling through reels on Instagram while I'm talking about life.
Add on to that, you have any funny stories of like working at Taco Bell or Subway?
I don't have any really specific stories or any long-winded stories. I do remember when I tried to, I didn't like working at Taco Bell anymore. Like, it was fun when I was there, I was fine, whatever, and people there were cool. But then I didn't want to do it anymore. Because all my friends were hanging out and having fun, and I was working. And so I needed to quit, but it was like, I didn't like confrontation, you know? And I'm like, how am I gonna get out of this? And then I remember like, man, I can't talk to my manager face to face, or he'll convince me to stay. So I did a phone call, and I totally blamed it on my dad. I was like, my dad doesn't want me to work there. And he's like, well, what does your dad do? He's an electrical engineer, or a computer engineer. And then he's like, well, he must be terrible at his business. And I was like, yeah, you're right. It was awful. I hated that. But and then I worked at Subway because some of my friends were working there. And then that was kind of fun working there. I became a sandwich artist. It was fun because it's just me and one other friend of mine that would run the place. And we'd have food fights all the time. We'd take pickles and we try to like throw them clear across from the counter to the window and see if they could stick. We would do that with tomatoes. So but that too kind of was like something where I'm kind of done with this too. I didn't see. At a place like that, unless you want to get into management and then running like a bunch of them or something, for me, it wasn't something I saw myself doing more of, so I just kind of got out of there. But that was easy to quit because one of the other managers was kind of my friend, so it was easy to be like, I'm out of here. He's like, that's all right, man, it's all cool. We still playing soccer this weekend? So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course, man, yeah.
I'm there.
Hey.
I quit my first 3 jobs by written letter, so don't feel too bad.
Yeah, written letter. There you go. I should have done that.
It was a lot easier than the phone call.
Yeah.
I would say my question would be like, do you collect any merch? And if so, what's your favorite kind or your favorite piece? And that goes for both of you.
Merch. I have been collecting Funkos. And originally, I wasn't planning on it, but then they kept bringing them out, and I'm like, man, some of these are kind of cool. And then I kept seeing the hollow Ichigos, which are kind of rare and hard to get. And then I was cleaning out my shed, and then I found a box that was like, it said toys on it. And I opened it, I was like, what's inside here? And I saw the hollow Ichigo in a case, and I was like, holy cow. And then I remembered, I was like, oh, that's right, I picked this up at GameStop, so I didn't have to pay, $500-600 for it. So I was like, yes. But I did have to pay for it. It's like $15 or something. But yeah, and that kind of like, I was like, oh, because I wasn't going to start collecting them because I knew that one was hard. And when I found that, I was like, wow, maybe I should try, And then I was like, all right. But man, they keep coming out. They keep coming out. So I've just been collecting them, And then, there's like the new Broly ones coming. So yeah, kind of got suckered into that. It's hard not to.
That's how they get you.
It is, and some of them are cool, and I think they're gonna like enhance them eventually, you know, make the boxes cooler or something, hopefully. But yeah, so I got into that. But I collect some of the figurines and things like that too. Like I have Kaneda and his motorcycle. I have a few Vashes, of course. I have like really old Vashes that McFarlane.
Yeah.
So there are a few things, and then I, even today, like people come by the table, and I was like, "Where'd you get that?" And they're like, "Oh, right here." It's like, "How much was that?" You know, it's like, "They still have them over there." So a lot of times I'll pick stuff up even at the shows. I pick up random stuff too, though. You know, I like steampunk weird things, and I remember walking through it was at LA Comic Con, and I saw this one table that had like all these cool little steampunk figurines, like a snail and an octopus, and like just a bunch of stuff. And I was like, those two are cool. They look good on my desk. And I bought those.
I used to collect like a lot of toys.
Right.
But
monster stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Kaiju.
Yeah, Kaiju, Hedorah.
From Godzilla.
I have like over 100 Hedorahs. It's a bunch of boxes in my parents' place. But one day, there's a super limited, like Hedorah this bag was released at the convention in Osaka, Japan. And I have to make a line day before.
Oh wow.
February.
Did you stand in line?
Yeah, I did, with a bunch of homeless people. It was like rich people hire homeless people to make a line. So,
do they really?
Yeah, they do. They saw only homeless people, yeah. And they just came to 10 minutes before they open. They switched the line, kind of stuff. It happens all the time. So I was maybe at 5th. So I thought I could buy it. And it was so cold in February, It's almost snowing there, by the way. And then I got a line, they opened the convention, and then but the company, I think that was M1, was medical, whatever, I forgot. But they said, oh sorry, I was busy, I couldn't make 10 pieces. I made only one. I couldn't. Then that guy bought a Hedorah, this big one. He's just taking picture and put it on eBay right in front of me. Then I was like, no, I couldn't do the same. I just stopped collecting. It was sad. Then the price was like, I don't know, 1,000.
Dang.
Because it's one piece in the world.
Single.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I got one more question, I'll leave you alone.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking something though, like so rich people hire homeless people to stand in line, and then they switch out 10 minutes before.
Yeah.
What happens if they show up and then the homeless person is like, well, you can have the spot, but right?
I mean,
bidding war now.
Yeah.
I never see that before actually.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. They hire me as a homeless people.
Yeah. Hey, you're homeless, right?
I feel like your friendship's getting on thin ice here.
It's always been on thin ice.
And my other question was just, will you still be signing autographs after this panel?
No, we have to go get on a plane. Did you need something signed?
Yeah, I would like to. I had to work the last 2 days.
I don't know if I have. Does anybody have a Sharpie with them?
I have to do it right now in the middle of the panel. If I can just
Bring over a Sharpie right at the end here before we have to go. We'll wrap up, and then if you guys wanted your badge signed or something, I'll sign it real quick for you. Thank you. You got it. Thank you. Cool. All right. Yeah, we can do that. Yes, sir.
Hello, Nero.
Hey, Dad. If you don't know the game, that's weird.
We'll talk about that later. So I've been watching anime for a very long time, and you are my favorite voice actor.
Thanks, man.
In some of your works, I know you have to curse for a character.
Yeah.
And but nothing too extreme, as I've seen or heard.
I guess it depends on what extreme would be.
Well, allow me to explain.
Okay.
Nothing extreme until the final battle between Nero and Virgil in Devil May Cry 5.
Right. Big F-bomb.
The big F-bomb.
Yeah.
My question is, how did that come about, and how did you feel about doing that? Because I don't think you've ever done that before until then.
No, well, that situation is it's a common story, right? Where you got this dad that's not around, and then so in this situation, it's kind of that thing. It's like if Luke Skywalker found out who his dad was, and instead of he does try to save him as well, but not only will save him, but wants to beat him up first, and also, Dad, you really suck, and what better way to say that than
He's understandably angry.
F you, So it made sense, and it makes sense in the DMC world, because even Nero, he doesn't really cuss a whole lot, he's kind of more, even Dante, but that moment felt right. In that moment, it felt like, well, this kind of, you almost want to go hyper real in that sense, in that moment, because it's like everything leads up to this, and you kind of hit that peak, that climax moment. It's like, what will sell that emotion the best? Like, you can't really sell it that best by going, no, it needs to be, this is what I think of you for all the stuff that you put, not only me through, my family through, or my, all that, and then, of course, I'm speaking for the player who's playing the game, that you are also probably frustrated with their relationship as well. So, as an actor, that felt right in that moment. And I don't remember if it was even in the script. It might have been something that we kind of came up with in that moment. There's a lot of adjustments in that, and I know that all of us, especially in 5, we changed nearly all our dialogue in that, because to make it more like how we felt the characters would speak.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that.
Oh, I'm glad.
It was
Not
awesome.
everybody, but I felt like the right moment to do something like that, for sure. And they made up in the end, right? Sort of. Yeah.
Thank you, Nero.
Thanks, Dad.
So I kind of have just 2 questions. One of them is, I guess, with all the, because I know you do a lot of shows that have just tons of episodes spanned through several years, and have had remakes even. What, I guess, what's your favorite journey from what show you've done that you just fall in love with the most? Like in development?
It's tricky. I don't know, the most would be there's a lot. Trigun, definitely. Vash, original series, as well as the new series. But both of them are good, but different, and they're different. They're different, but not different. There's like super similarities. Yeah. The character's heart is very much the same.
Right.
They do take place in sort of different timelines. So it's what I really like about that one is that you can actually like them both.
They're interconnected.
Yeah, and it's like, well, I still had. It's like this is like it's like a what if moment, so it's neat to have something like that. But also Ichigo's journey, and I'm super glad that we're back in there doing more of that. Blue Exorcist, Code Geass was another one that I felt was very satisfying to get the end of that 2nd season.
It was still so sad.
Yeah, it was, And then speaking of sad, Wolf's Rain, Kiba, that one, Akira. I could list off most of what I've worked on, and the journey for many of those characters. Gyu, Devil May Cry, Demon Slayer. Devil May Cry is another one. Nero, as well as Dante now. Dante, I think, is going to be, I'm so excited for that one. But yeah, I can look at so many of these things. Gabriel and the Guardians, which I showed a bit of yesterday, that's another one.
I saw that on Facebook several months ago, and I was like, ooh, this looks interesting. And I was
Yeah, it's almost like whatever the story is, the fantasy. It's like, what is this character's journey? You know, and if the character's journey is interesting, and there's enough of the drama, you know, the things that are happening, the obstacles, you know, and seeing that character go through those things, I don't know. There's encouragement even for us in a different way, you know, but it's fun sometimes to get lost in watching things, you know, and so I really love being being able to be in so many of these different things, you know. It's fun for me to escape as well into these characters.
Yeah, of course. Then I guess the second question is a bit more serious. When, you know, somebody that wants to, or has dreams or this going into like voice acting or music creation or production or all of this stuff, and, you know, as life goes on, you have moments where you're kind of beat down and you know, kind of forget about those dreams, and like they're still kind of in there, and you want to do them, you want to pursue them, but like, what kind of, I guess, what's the word, advice do you have for kind of getting back up on the saddle and just kind of pushing yourself to get back on that train again, even if you feel like you can't do it?
You know, that's a personal journey, I think, for every individual. I had the same journey. There's, and I can recall, like it was, and I had it many times. It was after Power Rangers, I wasn't sure if I could keep doing acting. I wasn't booking any auditions on camera, and so it was like, what am I going to do next? And then when I stumbled into, you know, voiceover, I did like a couple projects like Trigun, and then that was really cool, but then there was nothing for a while. And I remember, you know, I kind of was taking I was doing like personal training, I was like selling furniture, I was trying to do anything else because I needed to pay my bills, but I did feel this overwhelming, this isn't what I want to do. You know, yeah, and this kind of longing for, I need to give this another shot, I need to go again. And I remember it was a very tough decision, but I still had this other gigs, but then I knew I was gonna have to like walk away from whatever this paying job was to try again. But I said I had to do it, you know, and I can't say that that's what anyone should do, because that's, you know, it's a hard place to be in, you know, but I knew for myself personally that I wasn't going to be happy. You know, I always knew that, in worst case, I could come back to something like this, or I could find something else like this, because it wasn't a terrible place to be, you know, to be doing some other thing, but I needed to kind of give 100% focus to this for a short amount of time. I remember it was like as long as I could, but it was like a few months. I needed to just focus on doing this, and thankfully I got a couple more things, and then that became more things, you know, and then I didn't have to fall back on that, but that was always there, like, all right, I might have to, you know, and because in the beginning you don't know what you're going to get, you know, and they don't always pay that well, and a lot of times you're doing things for free or for nothing, you know, with the hope of getting, you know, more. So it's a personal journey. So I can't tell you exactly what to do, but that's what I did.
Right.
You know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It honestly helps to hear other people's kind of stories and how they kind of triumph through that time.
Yeah. Well, I think it also comes to this kind of, and this is my own kind of mentality, is like, even if things, like again, it's the same thing. Things can suck really bad, but you can get to a point where things are going to be okay, you know, but it might be really hard.
Yeah,
you know, you might go after this thing and it did not work. And that's happened to me as well. And then it's like, oh, that really sucked. And then you kind of have to take a few steps back and work yourself back into, you know, a place where you're comfortable and then go again,
right.
You know, which I've done many times. Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you, Johnny. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, man. All right, so we're gonna have to wrap it up here. You can stay there. We'll go ahead and do a couple more questions, but I might have to speed them up if that's okay. This is cool. And then I saw like this, it was like an Obi-Wan Kenobi guy walked up and had a question for the panelists, and he had said something, and then across the room, this guy stood up and he was dressed as Spock. And then I was like, what? And he like stood up and he was like yelling something. And then the Obi-Wan Kenobi guy was like looking at him. You know, this is like in the middle of this panel. And then the Spock was like, Star Wars sucks! Like that, right? And then Obi was like cussed back and was like, Star Trek's a load of crap, whatever, right? And they started like yelling and cussing, and then they started to converge on each other. Like, and I was like, what, are they gonna start fighting? And they started to scuffle a bit, and then people broke them up, and I was like, what happened? And then that was my first experience. I didn't mention, I was like, this is wild, man. But then like my first time to be like actually invited to go, you know, it was in Seattle, SHFiguarts. And it was because of Trigun, you know, and I got to go up there, and it was a super cool experience. I saw a ton of people dressed in cosplay. I saw a bunch of Vashes. So it was a fun experience, you know, and that was kind of the start of it. Like, I was like, this is awesome, you know? And I was kind of surprised that people were dressed up as a character I voiced, you know? Like that right there, that's freaking amazing to me. And it's super exciting too, you know? And it's like, I have an instant connection, you know, to a person that's like that. So it was a really cool experience, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, also, if the quarter story doesn't work in live action, it'd be cool if it was animated.
That was the fallback. That was the fallback, yeah, because I was thinking of doing that first, actually, and then, but then, yeah, for whatever reason, I thought, I don't know if it works. I stopped thinking it was funny as I was looking at the drawings. So.
Hello. I wanted to ask about Trigun specifically. I wanted to ask, so Trigun 98 and Stampede were 25 years apart. Did you make any conscious decisions to change anything about your voice acting for Vash?
Well, I went through the original to kind of like pick up my patterns and how I was speaking as Vash. But then when I saw the new one, I realized quickly that I couldn't do exactly that. Because he is different. And this show in general is different and a little more serious. And so I couldn't be as over the top. There were times when I could hint that out, and I would adjust into that old school Vash, but it also takes place earlier in the timeline as far as that. Like if you were to line them up, then Stampede would be earlier than the 98 version. So that still is a progression that I could possibly get to if they even go that way in Stargaze. But I couldn't do too much of that, but we could hint at it at times, you know. And then we would even do that with some of the dialogue. Instead of it being about pizza boxes, you know, I changed it to donuts, you know, a box of donuts or whatever. So we would poke those things in there. The laugh, you know, we'd hint it in there a little bit, so that if it did go that way in Stargaze, then it would be a more natural progression. Or also, if you watch this one, then you go to that one. It still feels like a different experience, but maybe you could see where that could become him. But I did definitely try to make it a bit more theatrical and more. I felt like if I made him a little more real in this one, that the notes would hit better because it was more serious, and I felt like it did. It was correct because in the end, when he's facing off with knives, and once I heard Austin do knives, I was like, okay, yeah, he's really dialing at 110%. So I have to be this way to kind of have that confrontation with him, and for it to feel passionate and emotional, and these two very different perspectives, you know, like a yin and yang. And so it needed to feel a certain way. And so yeah, I kind of like. I didn't know 100%. I didn't know the story, actually. And so it was more of, yeah, and so it was like, but once I saw the first episode, and I was constantly asking Jeremy Inman, who directed, I was like, hey, is it going to be like this the whole time, or is it pretty serious throughout? And so I had so many questions, and he knew some answers, but some answers he didn't have the whole thing either. So it was really a journey for all of us that were in there working on it to find out exactly where to place it. But yeah. took a gamble.
It was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for coming. We got to run, so if there are a couple of you that wanted to get your badge signed or something real quick, we'll do that, and then we got to head out.